Welcome back to Horror Movie Month, everyone. And I'm really excited for Horror Movie Month because, Horror Movie Month is just the month where I just get to review horror movies and scary movies and stuff. And by the way, I do have a special movie planned for you guys on the day of Halloween. Possibly the night of Halloween. It's not necessarily going to be a horror movie, but it is going to be a Halloween movie. And I will be reviewing it on Halloween, and I can't wait to review it. I'm not going to tell you guys what it is, but it's going to be a really, really great review. But anyway, Horror Movie Month from here, from to later, Horror Movie Month is going to be a blast. That's all I'm going to say. Horror Movie Month is going to be a blast this month, but anyway, let's stop talking and let's just get into our review. Today we're going to be talking about Final Destination, the teenage horror film that was released back in 2000 and was actually a original concept for the horror genre. And it sounds like a ridiculous concept that actually works. It honestly works. So what's the story behind this? Well, basically the story revolves around a teenager named Alex, who after he experiences a tragic plane accident of, many people were in an airplane and it supposedly unknowingly blew up. And ever since then, Alex is going through many supposed deadly obstacles and is just somewhat having the idea of that death might come after him and his friends, one by one in a list, and Alex has to try to find a way to cheat death and to lead his friends to safety. But the only problem is he has to convince his friends that death is actually coming after him, and it's not going to be easy considering ever since this plane incident happened, everyone has been seeing Alex as technically has been seeing him as a creep. You guys know me. I'm the type of guy who really does love horror movies. I love slasher movies, psychological movies. I love monster horror movies. I love sci-fi horror movies. I love anything horror. And honestly, I wasn't really surprised when I first heard about Final Destination. I honestly thought this movie was just going to be very, very cheesy. But after watching this Final Destination, I gotta say, I was really surprised by this movie. This movie is not a great movie, but it is good. I think this is a very effective and interesting teenage horror film. And Final Destination has a lot of things going for it. And yeah, there are moments in this movie that are hit or miss. But the things that I really liked and enjoyed about Final Destination in this movie is extremely original. This movie doesn't try to copy off of other horror movies or other teenage horror movies. This movie has its own interesting concept, and that's what I really respected about Final Destination. And considering this is a teenage horror movie, in teenage horror movies, you probably won't find a lot of things that are shocking. Honestly, a lot of things shocked me about Final Destination. There are a lot of elements, and it's a good shock too. There are moments in Final Destination where I'll just be like, and that happened multiple times to me. Every time someone would die in this film, it's very shocking because this entire film revolves around the idea of no one is ever 100% safe. And in this film, it just gives you the idea that death is always following you no matter where you go. And Final Destination really captures that feeling perfectly, honestly. Another thing that just made me praise this film so much is that this film is very clever with its plot. You might just think that this entire film just revolves around death coming after the teenagers, which it does. But it does some very smart and clever things with this story. On how you die and how you live, supposedly, once death comes after you, and if you cheat death, it goes down to another person that's on the list of becoming the victim of death. And it sounds really complicated, but honestly, it is actually really interesting. The direction in this movie is pretty well handled. It's not great. The direction in this movie is not great, but it's pretty well utilized, honestly. The characters are 50-50. They are likable at times, and there are other times where they're just sometimes plain, I guess. But the characters are really a 50-50. They sometimes try to make an attempt on making us like the characters, especially in these situations that are absolutely insane. But the characters are honestly a 50-50. The direction is well utilized, and the storytelling is pretty clever. Devon Sawa, I was actually really impressed by his performance in this film. He actually does deliver. He's a likable character enough at times, and you can tell that this character actually sort of does have a purpose of being in this film, because he's the savior of technically everyone who's going to be the victims of death. And no one knows that. And it doesn't really make sense. But the thing that's interesting about it is that it's complicated. Trust me, it really is. But it's fun to watch. Final Destination is complicated at times, but it's a fun movie to watch. And those moments where you realize that Alex can actually vision death and know who the next target's going to be, it's absolutely very mind-blowing in such a good way, honestly. And I do have flaws with Final Destination. Honestly, this is not a perfect movie. This is not a great movie. It's just a good and it's really such an effective horror film too. But I do have flaws with Final Destination. My first issue that I have with this movie is it has to deal with the plane crash incident, or the plane accident technically, where the explosion occurs. And I know it's a very chilling and really fun scene to watch. It's just that I wish that technically they went in a little more deep detail on the story on why the plane exploded. And I don't know if it has something to do with death, or Alex was meant to be alive this entire time, because this is technically explains, like, right in the ending of the movie, that there's a chance that Alex was one of the few individuals in this movie that was supposed to be alive this entire time and was never supposed to die. So if that's the case, then that would make sense on why the plane exploded and killed everyone else. But I think the story could have been a little more deeper. And I think it would have improved the film a little more, honestly. But yeah, that's just my first issue with this film. And it's not just for the plane crash sequences. I think it's for all the deaths, technically. The deaths are really fun and interesting to watch. I just wish that the story was deeper in this film. And while I did enjoy the acting in this movie, like some of the actors like Ali Larter, her acting was really good in this movie. I couldn't get interested into her character, though. That's just me. I couldn't really get interested into her character as much as Alex, because Alex is actually likable. He's not lovable. He's just likable and understandable, and he's relatable. I couldn't get into Larter's character, really. Her performance is really good, honestly, but I just couldn't get into her character. And that's the same thing with all the other characters in this film, technically, except for Alex and possibly a few of the side characters. But some of the other characters, they just don't really technically matter. Like I said, the characters are 50-50 in this film. However, the acting in this movie is pretty good. The acting's not going to blow you away or anything and be like, wow, this guy's going to be the next Jack Nicholson or something. No, the acting is just good in this movie. And you can watch and you can be like, okay, they're actually trying to be a part of the movie. Although I will say this about Final Destination, Final Destination does handle its drama and suspense pretty good, honestly. The drama and suspense isn't top-notch. It's not perfect drama and suspense, but it's the type of drama and suspense that you can watch and feel, and you can feel like you're being scared, honestly, because I wouldn't really say Final Destination has elements that can actually happen in real life, because death is coming after them on purpose, technically. But if this were something that happened in real life, like it's just twisted a little bit. This movie really does twist your mind, and it terrifies you, honestly, sometimes. It really does. I have to say, I also really enjoyed the opening of Final Destination, which included the title sequences being blurred out and faded away, and especially the score of this film. The score is dark and eerie and creepy, and it fits perfectly with this movie, honestly. But yeah, honestly, guys, and this is coming from a real, true horror movie fan. Final Destination surprised me. This movie really did. It's not a great movie. It's not a masterpiece. It's not a classic. It's just a good horror movie, and it's really effective too. It's a really popular horror movie too, especially when you throw it into the teenage horror films. It's a really well-known movie by audiences technically, and it has some weird elements here and there, but it's all about tech. It's really all about, and it's a good weird. It's not a bad weird. It's a really good weird. You can relate to the story in this film, somewhat here and there. Most of the time, you can relate to the story. You can the characters are 50-50. They're likable sometimes, and sometimes they aren't really likable. The concept is really clever in this movie. The concept of the movie is really clever, honestly. The direction is good. The acting is good. And if you're the type of person who doesn't really nitpick at movies at all, technically, you will love Final Destination. You really will love Final Destination because it's the perfect movie for you. Or if you're just a person who loves horror movies in general, and even if you nitpick at horror movies, like me, because I'm technically like a YouTube critic, so I'll nitpick at like technically anything I review. So if you are a horror movie fan, I'd say check out Final Destination if you haven't seen it. You'll probably like it. I enjoyed it. I honestly was surprised by this movie. I didn't really think I was going to like it that much, honestly, but I was wrong. Final Destination really did surprise me, honestly. And I think it's definitely one of the better teenage horror films that we have today, aside from some others that I won't really like put out there and stuff like that. But Final Destination is a really effective teenage horror film and a really effective horror film in general. And I'm going to give Final Destination a B-. So guys, there's my review for Final Destination. Thank you guys so much for tuning into Horror Movie Month again. You guys are the best. And look forward to more horror movies that I'll be reviewing. I'm gonna try to do another horror movie review. Maybe tomorrow. If I do, I want to try to review Candyman. So please stay tuned for that. I'm gonna have really a lot of fun reviewing that movie. So please stay tuned for that. And stay tuned for other horror movie reviews that I'm going to be reviewing for Horror Movie Month. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are the best. I love every single one of you. You guys just keep on showing support to my channel. And I want you guys to keep showing support to me because you guys are the best. And I love every single one of you. And thank you guys so much for watching always. And as always, I am MarioFan520 and I will see you next time. Peace out.